The confirmed number of coronavirus cases in Los Angeles County comes to 1,222,778. The confirmed number of deaths reaches 23,292. Here in Torrance, the total number of confirmed cases is 7,070, with total confirmed deaths at 202. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Leslie Robbins. It's 4 p.m. on Wednesday, April 7th. Los Angeles County will likely continue to remain in the orange tier for at least 3 weeks. That's according to the county's public health director, Dr. Barbara Ferrer. The county was able to move into the orange tier due to a steady decline in daily new COVID-19 infections, which is now less than the state's standard of 3.9 per 100,000. LA County's rate as of last week was 3.1 per 100,000 residents. Now, to reach the next least restrictive yellow tier, the county's new infection rate will need to fall below 1 per 100,000 residents. Dr. Ferrer says staying in the orange tier for 3 weeks will give the county enough time to reopen safely and be able to continue in decreasing the caseload, enough to move into the yellow tier, which will indicate minimal transmission of the virus. Moving into the next tier will also mean dramatic increases in capacity for most businesses, services, and events. Now, come mid-June, the tier system is expected to be eliminated altogether as vaccines continue to be available to residents and case rates remain low. But until then, health officials urge residents to continue to adhere to infection control measures like social distancing, mask wearing, hand washing, and getting the vaccine when eligible. A new study revealed Americans who've received a dose or the full 2-dose regimen of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine should be protected against getting sick for at least 6 months. The new study tracked 33 participants in the trial between the ages of 18 to 71 that led to the vaccine's approval. 6 months after having received their second dose, antibody activity remained high in all age groups. The study was led by the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The results follow similar findings for Pfizer's 2-dose vaccine. The trial results released earlier this month by both companies found that their vaccines remain more than 91% effective 6 months after people are fully vaccinated. Now, researchers are determining the effect of a booster dose to extend the duration of activity against emergent viral variants. The findings were published in this week's New England Journal of Medicine. COVID-19 symptoms and seasonal allergies may have some confused, wondering if they're sick with the virus or just experiencing an overload of pollen. Health experts say they're seeing patients with terrible allergies due to being indoors for most of last year, and it doesn't help that some symptoms overlap. Congestion, runny nose, cough, shortness of breath, and fever are all symptoms of both COVID-19 as well as seasonal allergies. And doctors say now there's more than one reason to wear your face mask. New research shows it not only protects against COVID, but it can also fight against some of the most common allergens. Experts also say if your usual allergy medicine isn't working, it's probably time to make that appointment to see your doctor. In the meantime, officials say wearing a mask will have a 2-fold benefit for those suffering the allergy blues. Today marks World Health Day, and this year's campaign focuses on a fairer, healthier world. Every year on April 7th, the Global Health Awareness Day is celebrated with a different theme, and people around the world participate in activities and attend seminars that are related to the topic of health. The World Health Organization says the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the lack of equitable health care and urges leaders to work together to address root causes of inequities and implement solutions, collect reliable data, increase investment in primary health care, and act beyond national borders. While the inception of the World Health Day was in 1948, it took effect beginning in 1950. Over the years, this initiative has highlighted important health topics such as mental health, maternal and child care, and climate change. Small businesses financially impacted by the pandemic in Los Angeles County will have an opportunity to apply for a grant. As part of a $4.7 million program, businesses like beauty and nail salons, barber shops, dry cleaners, bakeries, and automotive stores who fall under personal care service and retail can now apply for a $10,000 grant. To be eligible, businesses must have an annual revenue of under $1 million and must provide documents showing proof of financial hardship brought on by the pandemic. The money is funded by the LA Regional COVID-19 Recovery Fund's Keep Our Shops on the Block grant. Applications are being accepted through April 11th. Now, if you miss this window, you will have another chance to apply between April 26th through May 2nd. You can go to lacovidfund.org for more information. Los Angeles County leaders voted to launch an initiative to explore how to better combat hate crimes in the community. County supervisors approved the creation of a work group that will make specific recommendations as early as next month. The work group will also determine the feasibility of launching the LA County Equity and Diversity Fund, which financially supports anti-racist research and art that celebrates communities of color, with the goal of raising an initial $1 million from county and philanthropic organizations. Supervisor Janice Hahn, who authored the motion, said, quote, "The escalation of attacks against Asian American and Pacific Islander communities have been a heartbreaking reminder of how far we have to go toward building a society where everyone can feel safe, accepted, and equal." Los Angeles County is home to some of the largest populations in the United States of Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Burmese, Cambodian, Indonesian, Sri Lankan, Taiwanese, and Thai Americans. In 2020, Los Angeles police saw a 114% increase in anti-Asian hate crimes. Last year, following the killing of George Floyd, the county approved an anti-racist policy agenda that directs all departments to make combating racism against Black residents a priority. In this new proposal, it would expand that work to include Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. As restaurants continue to offer takeout options for those not comfortable dining out yet, ketchup is facing a shortage due to high demand. Now, we're not talking about that kind that's bottled, but the small individually packaged condiment packets that restaurants hand out in your to-go orders. Since the pandemic, health officials have urged restaurants to do away with shared condiments and offer single-use containers or packets. Prices for ketchup packets have gone up 13% since January 2020, and Heinz, the largest producer in the market, hasn't been able to keep up. Officials say they are working to increase supplies, such as adding manufacturing lines that will increase production by about 25% for a total of more than 12 billion packets a year. Major League Baseball officially announced the new venue for this year's AllStar Game. Originally planned to play out in Atlanta, the MLB pulled out of the state over objections to extensive changes to Georgia's voting laws. Economists say this will likely impact local businesses, and nearly $100 million in tourism dollars will be lost by the MLB's decision. In a statement, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said, "The decision to move the game was the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport. The decision was made after consulting with teams, current and former players, and the MLB Players Association." The new location has been designated in Denver at Coors Field, with the game taking place on July 13th. It will also be the first time in 23 years the AllStar Game returns to Colorado. The Los Angeles Dodgers are scheduled to host the AllStar Game in Los Angeles in 2022. A popular program returns to Target for families. The retailer's car seat trade-in program officially kicked off this week, allowing parents the opportunity to recycle older car seats for newer models at a discount. The program is in line with the company's commitment to sustainability, helping to reduce millions of pounds of plastic and waste over the last 5 years. Customers can return a used car seat to any Target store nationwide until April 17th, and in return, guests will receive a 20% off coupon to use towards a new car seat, a car seat base, travel system, or stroller. Shoppers can also choose to select baby gear instead, like high chairs, swings, rockers, and bouncers. Target says they will recycle all types of car seats, even if they are expired or damaged. The program launched in 2016, and the retailer has recycled more than 1.1 million car seats since, which is equivalent to 17 million pounds of plastic. On today's Wellness Wednesday, Christine Lee visits with a local licensed marriage and family therapist to give us some advice on how to navigate these uncertain times by checking in on our mental and physical health. Let's take a look.
Many of us are having trouble coping with COVID-19 and all of the restrictions and worries that come along with it. Melissa Dumas is here to help us overcome some of these obstacles. She's actually been helping clients with this exact situation, and I'm so happy to connect with her online to share some great words of wisdom and advice. Melissa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine. Happy to be here.
So coping through COVID is a universal issue we're all facing right now. What are some of the biggest reasons clients are coming to you for help?
A lot of them. So some of those reasons are the stressors of COVID-19. Some of those reasons are the grief and loss. And grief and loss, not just in family members or friends that have been impacted by COVID-19, but also the grief and loss of a job, or the grief and loss of some of the freedoms that we once had prior to the pandemic. And so people are experiencing a lot of that. And that what I'm also noticing too, that some people are now in this place of being able to be still, and to be still long enough that they're realizing that there were some things that in their either childhood or in their recent past that they never really fully recovered from. And they feel like, okay, now that I have to sit still for so long, I don't want to sit in this pain. Now is an opportunity for me to work on myself and to heal from some of these past things.
Well, what are some ways people can find healing, or at least start that process of relieving themselves of some of the stress that comes with COVID-19?
One of those ways, I think, is trying to identify what we can and what we cannot control. You know, there's only so much that we can control with the pandemic. Like, we can't control who has access to the vaccine right now. We can't control what strangers are doing or who's wearing a mask and who's not. But what we can control is ourselves. We can control if we allow people to come into our home at this time. We can control if we go to gatherings. We can't control if our neighbors gather, but we can control if we gather. We can control, you know, our own sanitization too. Like, I can control how often I wash my hands or how cleanly I keep myself. I can control, you know, my diet, things of that nature. So just exploring the things that you have within your control and finding a way to control those things. And then also setting yourself up with some sort of routine. Since so many things are out of sorts, you know, a routine is something that we can control too. What our morning looks like, what our midday looks like, what our evening looks like. Those are things that we do have control over.
These are great reminders, and I've personally found that keeping some sort of an active routine, like going to the driving range or taking a walk every morning, really helps me to regulate my mood. Are these the types of activities that you recommend to others?
Absolutely, absolutely. Doing things that can get you active naturally helps to induce those happy hormones, those endorphins. So anything that you can do to get active, whether that's going for a walk, a bike ride, a jog, or even if you feel like you don't want to go outside, finding some sort of way to walk around your home or to do yoga, getting yourself active definitely helps with that. And if that's not your thing, possibly journaling, identifying a friend that you can talk to. What I'm noticing too that a lot of people are missing, people especially now that are working from home, they don't have that commute. And as much as like stressful a commute could be, for some people that was part of their routine, whether it was listening to the radio or the news or having the quiet time in the car or listening to a book or a podcast or music. Now people don't even have that. And so we don't realize these little parts of our day that we were possibly pouring back into ourselves that now we don't have access to. So we have to be mindful and alert about how we can do that now given the circumstance.
Mm. And as we approach nearly a year of having to stay confined, social distanced, unable to see and do the things we normally do, experts call it COVID fatigue. What advice do you have that's tangible? I think local health officials are all saying with the vaccine there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but what else can people do?
They can also call it for what it is. It's exhausting. It really is. And let's normalize that for everyone, to have this, just of an attitude like, oh, we're going to get through it. Oh, we're all in this together. Like all of that feels good and it sounds great, but it's exhausting. And it's even exhausting for those who have, these list of coping skills and all the things that they can do. So just naming it for what it is, honoring your feelings, honoring your thoughts, and knowing that you're not alone in that. We are collectively in this, trauma experience. And so, acknowledging that and calling it for what it is. And I think that could be part of it. And then also giving yourself what you need, listening to your body. If your body says you need rest, if your body says you need to be active, if your body says you don't need to be alone right now, call someone. Honoring that and listening to your body, listening to your mind and your spirit during this time is so important.
That's great. Anything else you want to share that can help us all handle COVID-19 a little bit better than we may be?
Right, absolutely. Talking to someone, if you're in a position to see a therapist or to see a professional, that can be extremely important. And then also, I'm a big fan of journaling. Journaling can be extremely helpful. If things are too frustrating or too much for you, also getting that energy out, if that means, taking that frustration out and yelling into a pillow. I'm a big fan of taking old mail and shredding it, because sometimes the energy is just building within us and we need to be able to get it out. And the ways that we may have been able to get it out in the past, we can't. And so now we have to find new ways to be able to cope with that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Melissa.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
And you can learn more about Melissa and her work as a therapist at youhelpyou.com.
Thanks, Christine. Well, before we go, at the end of each program, we like to share feel-good stories from our community. Pictures, images, and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. Well, there's no better way to show how you care than by sharing who your favorite people are, your favorite places and things to do here in the South Bay, especially in Torrance. As the South Bay's Best returns for its 30th annual Reader's Choice Awards, the community is invited to enter the name of your favorite per category. Voting is now open through the end of the month. Now remember, when completing your ballot, you must vote in at least 10 different categories for it to count. This is sponsored by The Daily Breeze, The Beach Reporter, and the Palace Birdies Peninsula News. It's free to vote. Go to southbayvotes.com. Now, if you have a great story, upcoming event, a photo or video you'd like to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that is our update for COVID-19 today. Be sure to join us tomorrow as Ben McCain brings you the latest. Please be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.